Welcome to The Gut Show. I'm your host, Erin Judge, registered dietitian and founder of Gemelli. I'm also your fellow IBS warrior. Our goal on this side of the internet is to empower those with IBS and digestive disorders to understand their gut better, to have a healthier relationship with their bodies, and to make confident choices to improve their digestive health. During this season, you can expect a conversation around a hot topic related to gut health, digestion, and IBS. As a disclaimer, I am a dietitian, but I am not your dietitian. So everything covered in this episode is meant to be educational and is purely information that you can take back to your healthcare team in order to make the best decisions for you. If you're new here and something just doesn't feel right in your gut, if your symptoms have led you to this podcast, I invite you to start by taking the quiz, What's Your Poop Personality? Your personality type will unveil what your symptoms may mean, what may be causing them, and what you can do about them. This is a free quiz and you can take it today at getovate.com or find the direct link below in the show notes. While you're going to take the quiz, let's jump into today's episode. Now for a quick word from our sponsors with resources that might support you. Is a gluten-free diet just not cutting it, or maybe not even necessary when it comes to chronic symptoms like bloating, gas, and pain? Research actually shows that in those without celiac disease, it's actually the FODMAP, the carbohydrate fructan in wheat, not gluten, that causes symptoms most often. This means that you may not need a strict gluten-free diet to see symptom relief. And it means that if you are reacting to fructans, there may be more foods in your diet beyond wheat that are causing you symptoms. This includes foods like garlic and onion, and even some fruits and vegetables that can sneak their way into your diet and contribute to those chronic symptoms. So you can choose to limit these foods and reduce your overall fructan intake in order to avoid symptoms. You also have the option to break the fructan down using FODzyme, an enzyme blend that targets fructan, lactose, and GOS FODMAPs, and that will help you break these FODMAPs down to then prevent the symptoms. Learn more about FODzyme in the show notes, and you can use the code THEGUTSHOW for 20% off your first order. Did you know that you can now order your own gut health tests without waiting months for a doctor's appointment? Gemelli Biotech offers trusted, science-backed, at-home tests for conditions like SIBO, EMO, ISO, and post-infectious IBS. Their Trio Smart Breath test measures the 3 key gases, hydrogen, methane, and hydrogen sulfide, to detect different forms of microbial overgrowth. As for those with IBS symptoms, IBS Smart is a simple blood test that can confirm post-infectious IBS with clinical accuracy. Validated by the leaders in gut health, these are tests that you can trust and tests that you can take comfortably from your home. So go to getgutanswers.com to find out which tests are right for you and use the code ErinJudge25, all one word, ErinJudge25, to save $25 on your order. And now let's get back to the show. Welcome back to The Gut Show. Today we have a nice little bonus episode bringing in the CEO of Gemelli Biotech. You've seen them as one of our sponsors, the founders, the company behind the Trio Smart test that we talk about so often. And so the CEO, Matt Micho, is here to join us today, and we're going to dive in to some ins and outs of Gemelli. So Matt, welcome, and I'm glad you're here.
Thanks for having me, Erin.
So before we dig into you and even Trio Smart and all of the ins and outs, what is Gemelli Biotech? Like, how would you describe the company in the most simple way?
I would say it's a gastrointestinal precision diagnostic company. The origin of the company and the name come from the relationship that I've had for a long time with the folks at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. Dr. Mark Pimentel and I worked on a previous product and company when I used to run a product called Xifaxan, which I think you're all aware of very well, at a company called Salix. Mark developed the use of Xifaxan. We met in 2009. I can't believe it's been that long, and have maintained both a personal and professional relationship, friendship since then. Gemelli means twins in Italian. When myself, Dr. Pimentel, Dr. Ruchi Mathur, who is an endocrinologist at Cedars-Sinai, Dr. Ali Rezai, and Dr. Kapil Gupta came up with the idea of bringing these assets that were developed at Cedars to market. There was really a foundational thought that we should do good and do well, right? If we do well, we could still do good. And I think we've maintained that culture throughout the years. So Gemelli means twins in Italian, and we have tried to maintain that culture and essence of the company ever since.
That's wonderful. Yeah, we're big fans of Dr. Pimentel here. He was on the podcast early in the season, giving us those updates on SIBO. And I remember maybe only a few years ago, 5 years ago, you'll have to tell me exactly when Trio Smart hit the market, but I remember how big of a breakthrough it was whenever we had a validated test to reflect the research around microbial overgrowth and all the three gases and all of that. And we're definitely going to get into that. But you mentioned, you helped with like the Xifaxan piece, and then came into. Did you start Gemelli then? Like, are you the founder as well?
I am one of the founders. That's correct.
Okay.
So
Wow.
grateful to have the opportunity to lead the organization for the last 7 years. We really started a couple of years pre-revenue. We had brought IBS Smart, which is the antibody test for post-infectious IBS to market while we were developing all of the tools that were needed to launch Trio Smart. So the instrumentation that sits at our lab, the collection system that I know a lot of your patients and followers are aware of that allows you to take a gas sample and transport it across the United States in order to get it to the lab so that the specimen is still good. It's very complicated when you're talking about hydrogen, methane, and hydrogen sulfide needing to be transported to a central location for the analysis to be done. So we wanted to make sure, both from a scientific perspective and ethical perspective, that everything was perfect before we brought it to market. And as you had stated, 5 years ago, call it that we brought Trio Smart to market. If you remember that time, we were in the midst of COVID. There is nothing like bringing a breath test to market in the midst of COVID, and I'm glad to get into that a little bit more. But it turned into a an odd tailwind, but you would not have thought that.
I can only understand that from the even just the perspective that I've had as a dietitian going through COVID and in the GI space. I think it is a really interesting point in time, even looking at the research now we have in post-COVID IBS and even microbial overgrowth and all these other things that we're seeing. Where would we be if COVID hadn't have happened? I think it's very interesting. Telehealth medicine, right? With that
Totally.
it is breath testing is really interesting. I think now people understand what breath testing could possibly mean, or it's really confusing and very interesting.
Yeah,
So I do want to go back to those early days because I know that, Cedar Sinai, they were doing a lot of this research for decades. They've been doing this research for a long time. And
that's
it's
correct.
taken a long time to get it to where it is now. It's a lot of hard work. What inspired you to like lean into that? So I know you were already connected to the team, but what were those conversations? You mentioned IBS Smart being first. Like, what were those conversations of the need for diagnostics and even deciding to come up with this as an option?
Yeah, so for me personally, I spent my first 10 years of my career at GlaxoSmithKline in a ton of different commercial roles. Learned a lot about the business, went to business school at Chapel Hill. It was phenomenal. The whole thing's been an absolute gift. The time at Salix, where I met Mark, Dr. Pimentel, was really transformational for me from a career perspective and just personally seeing someone that had such passion for something that was really being met with resistance at the time, but his perseverance on something that he believed in gave me a lot of confidence that like this is my guy. We can do this together. After Salix was acquired in 2015, I had helped the folks at Exact Sciences commercialize Cologuard, which was a lot of fun. But when Mark asked me in 2018 if I would help take some of the things that they had in the lab and commercialize them, it was an absolute no-brainer to say yes. So going back to your comment about, breath testing really evolving over the last 5 years, having known so many gastroenterologists and gastro NPs and PAs, I'm at a gastro NP and PA conference right now in Vegas, the GAP conference, and it's inspiring. There's about 1,000 gastro NPs and PAs at this meeting, and those are the folks, in addition to dietitians like yourself, that are seeing so many patients and helping so many people just have better lives by feeling better. I had met so many people throughout the years in the gastroenterology space that when COVID hit, they were like, Matt, you guys have the mail-in breath test, right? Because they were doing breath testing in office. And I was like, oh yeah, we're just launching it right now, actually. Can we, service your practice? And that's when it started to take off. So a lot of folks that were doing in-house breath testing, patient goes in, sits there for a few hours. It's kind of miserable for everybody. All of a sudden started using Gemelli and Trio Smart as their option of choice. Fast forward 5 years, and to your point, Aaron, about the growth of the market is 4 or 5 times bigger for breath testing, for mail-in breath testing, than it was when we launched. And about 80 some percent of mail-in breath tests that are being completed right now are Trio Smart. I mean, I cannot tell you how proud we are, how proud I am of the team for kind of creating a market that was underserviced, and doing it in a way that, is white glove service, very professional. And the team, if I tell you how much they grind over every phone call, every email, making sure that every patient has the right experience. It's been awesome to see and lead.
Absolutely. And you did mention there are other breath tests out there. There's breath testing through a clinic. And I think this is a piece that people are very confused around, because when we say breath testing, they're not all created equal. They're not all the exact same. What does make TrioSmart different, without going into all the science of it exactly? I know Dr. Pimentel covers that a lot, but what does make it different? And then why did you take that approach?
Absolutely. I'll keep it simple because obviously Dr. Pimentel would know a lot more depth around all of it than I will ever. He's forgotten more than I'll ever know. Um, we have a third gas. That's the huge differentiator. So we measure hydrogen, methane, and hydrogen sulfide. The other breath tests on the market, and grateful that they created a market, right, and helped a lot of people throughout the years, measure hydrogen and methane. And that's important too. We just have a third gas that is really gives you the complete fermentable gas profile. There are no other gases to look at, right? So that's a pretty huge differentiator. And then I would like to think, and I'm terribly biased, as you're aware, Aaron, our service, I think, differentiates ourselves within the market. And then also the bag to instrument connection, and the way that it all works together. We have a very low Q&S rate, or quality not sufficient. So when somebody does a test, a vast majority of time, we're able to report a result and the patient doesn't have to do it again. From what we hear, that was a challenge in the past with other service providers.
Absolutely. And that's where some of that information around, like, them not being as specific, or not being as perfect or definitive, or some of that language that's used, is because of the process of gathering the gas, right?
That's right.
Um, was it 2 years ago that TrioSmart became what we considered validated, or that was communicated? Do you remember when that happened? I believe it was only within the past few years that Dr. Pimentel and the MAST team submitted something validating the test. Can you share what that means? I think that's something that we say a lot, but people may not fully understand what that even means.
The team at MAST within Cedars, that Mark, and Dr. Mathor run, along with Dr. Razai, they continuously have a plethora of scientific data coming out into the marketplace. So maybe what you're referring to is one of these big steps along the way. What I will tell you from a company perspective is, from the minute that we launched the test, we run it as an LDT, or a laboratory developed test, at a CLIA CAP certified laboratory. So we have all of the proper credentialings through all of the lab service, whatever you want to call it, the regulatory authorities in lab, to do the test the way that we're doing it. So I can speak to that as far as Mark, and the scientific data that's come out throughout the years. It hasn't stopped. This past DDW, they had a number of scientific publications, posters, oral sessions, talking about new improvements to, or new understanding of, the bacteria, the bugs, the gases. It's been incredible to have their support throughout the years.
Absolutely. It's very exciting to see some of that research continue to evolve and evolve in a way that doesn't change everything. It kind of builds off of what we already know, which is very exciting for treatments and all of that stuff.
That's
Um,
exactly right.
So with the evolution from Gemelli, so you guys being involved in that picture, you mentioned, during COVID and at your launch, the at-home deliverable test, you didn't know it was going to be such a key part of the market, but it was. Is that the vision moving forward? Is that an accessibility thing that really matters to you guys? Is the goal to bring that more to a clinic? Like, what is the vision for just the accessibility and the delivery of the testing?
Right now, as a smaller organization, we are sticking to our core competency of doing what we're doing and doing it really well. Things that we're working on, though, are right now we have lactulose and glucose as substrates. Uh, we are partnering with a pharmacy in order for patients to have quicker access to potentially mail-in lactulose. That would be awesome. I think that would be great for the patient. More to come there. That's not done yet. We also now offer sucrose, fructose, and lactose malabsorption testing, which is available on triosmartbreath.com for a patient to go and purchase. And obviously, we have the telehealth background built and validated. IBS Smart, I think, is a very unique asset that has been underutilized. And honestly, we've under promoted it because of the success of Trio Smart and having a finite amount of resources to support both assets. I think you'll see a lot more interest and utilization of IBS Smart for post-infectious IBS as folks are looking for the causality of their symptoms. So those are great things. We get asked all of the time, and it's so hard to not say yes to everything. Can I buy an instrument? Can I set up a lab in this other country? Can we do X, Y, and Z? And we want to do it all. We just need to, stay focused on doing what we do right now really well, helping as many people as we can within this defined market. And as things evolve as an organization, as a leadership team, there's other folks around the table helping me, guide and make decisions. We will hopefully have the opportunity to take on some of those opportunities in the future.
Oh, absolutely. I know the biggest question I get asked all the time. If I talk about TrueSmart, I mean, you know what it is, right? Why is it not available in Europe? Yeah, why can't we ship it
We're,
even to Canada, right? Where are we with that? If you can share, is there any potential future
I'll
shipping
double check with the
available?
team. I believe there's one distributor in Canada that offers Trio Smart. I'll get back to you, Aaron, on that, and you can then communicate that to your team. But we are actively working on a couple of deals right now where folks want to set up labs in other regions.
Yeah.
And it's great to kind of be in demand. It's figuring out the bandwidth on how to execute.
That makes sense. And you mentioned all of that stuff earlier about how it's done, behind the scenes to make sure that the results are accurate, right? And that it's done well. And that's what you mean by the lab. It has to be set up properly, and like all these things have to come into place. So it's not as simple as just saying, oh yeah, we can just ship it to England and then you can ship it back. Like there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle that need to be taken care of. And I think that's
There
something
are, there are.
hard.
So, um, I think, and this might not be what you're asking, but I think the best approach would be for us to stand up central labs in different regions, so that we can then get the specimen or the breath sample to that location without sending it over the pond, right? So, it's, we have 7 day stability on the bags in order to get gases to the location. If it gets caught up in customs or something, it could be a terrible experience for other folks. I want to make sure that we're doing it right before we put something out into the world.
Absolutely. And I'm on board with that too. As someone who works with patients, I don't diagnose or anything myself, but I think patients, it's a vulnerable population, right? People want answers, and they want to trust in the things that they are moving forard with.
And if you're spending, hard-earned money on something, you want a great experience and you want it to work. And we take that responsibility seriously.
Absolutely. Now for a quick word from our sponsors with resources that might support you. Are you struggling with bloating, constipation, or diarrhea, and you're still waiting to see your doctor?
Take control and get answers with Gemelli Biotech's at-home gut health tests.
The Trio Smart Breath Test is the only at-home test that is validated to look for all three gases that are associated with microbial overgrowth: hydrogen, methane, and hydrogen sulfide. That means it can detect SIBO, EMO, and ISO in one simple test. It ships right to your door, no appointment needed. You take it and you send it back, then you get answers. If your IBS symptoms started after a stomach bug or food poisoning, it could be post-infectious IBS. The IBS Smart Blood Test is a quick at-home test to help identify it. Fun fact, 1 in 9 people who get food poisoning will end up with post-infectious IBS, and most don't even know they have it.
With both of Gemelli Biotech's tests,
You'll get clinically backed results in about a week, and you can take them straight to your provider. No waiting, no referrals, just answers. Find out which tests are right for you at getgutanswers.com and use the code AaronJudge25, all one word, AaronJudge25, to save $25 on your order. You can also find all these details in your show notes.
Are you taking a prescription medicine for irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C? If symptoms like constipation, belly pain, and bloating are still bothering you, it may be time to try something different. Ibsrela, tenapanor, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with IBS-C. Ibsrela works differently to relieve the symptoms of IBS-C so that you can focus on what's important to you. Ask your doctor if Ibsrela could be right for you. Do not give Ibsrela to children less than 6 years of age. You should not give Ibsrela to children 6 to less than 18 years. It may harm them. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe, and your child could get severe dehydration. Stop taking Ibsrela and call your doctor if you develop severe diarrhea. Do not take Ibsrela if you have a bowel blockage. Tell your doctor if you are pregnant or breastfeeding and about the medicines you take. Other common side effects include swelling or a feeling of fullness or pressure in your abdomen, gas, or dizziness. Learn more at ibsrela.com/PI or call 1-844-IBSRELA and press option 4. Ready to try something different for your IBS-C symptoms? Ask your doctor about Ibsrela.
as someone with IBS-C, I've struggled with symptoms related to food for the majority of my life, specifically FODMAPs. My personal triggers, beans, dairy products, garlic, and onion, would leave me feeling bloated and uncomfortable after meals, especially whenever I was eating out or traveling or living my life outside of my home, which meant I either had to just deal with the symptoms or eat bland, awful food and miss out on experiencing the social interactions and the joy of food. Finding FODzyme was a game changer for me. This is an enzyme blend that targets FODMAPs, specifically the GOS that's found in beans, fructan in the garlic, onion, wheat, and even different fruits and vegetables, as well as lactose in dairy products. I stash this in my wallet, my husband's wallet, every bag I own. I take it with me everywhere I go so that I can simply sprinkle it on my meals, eat with confidence, and feel my best after. If you want to try FODzyme for yourself, go to fodzyme.com and don't forget to use the code THEGUTSHOW, all one word, THEGUTSHOW, for 20% off your first order.
And now let's get back to the show. You've mentioned a few times about how your service is so important and the service to your customers, the patients out there. What are some of the things that you've put into place to support that? And what have you heard from customers around that?
Yeah, time matters, right? So on both ends, when we get an order, every order goes out the next day. The team has done an incredible job. When we receive an order, almost 99% of samples that we receive are reported within 24 hours. It's a non-negotiable. We get it out perfectly, we get it back in perfectly. And in the middle, we've built out a customer service team, and the folks that lead that team are phenomenal. I personally wouldn't be able to do that for a living. I don't have the soft skills to do what they do. It's incredible. They speak to patients, they speak to physician offices, they speak to insurers, they talk everyone through the process of let's do this the right way, let's make sure you get an accurate result, let's make sure that you understand the cost of the test, if insurance covers it, all of those types of things. Now, I probably just set them up to get 1,000 more phone calls, but this is what they do, and they do it really, really well.
Yeah, well, that's really important because you mentioned before, right? People are spending their money on it, they're spending their time on it, and often patients are having to even communicate, "Hey, this is what I did," to their doctor, to these
there's
That's
a
it.
lot involved beyond just taking the test. And so having that real person support makes a
Yeah.
huge difference in
Eh,
people's experiences.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. A lot of times, so we report the result to the ordering provider. So a patient will say, "Hey, I haven't gotten my results," and it's sort of like you have they have it. You need to get it from them, right? So it's those types of things of connecting the dots to make sure even things that aren't in our control are a good experience for the patient.
Absolutely. Makes a huge difference. I have a curveball question for you
Uh-oh.
because this just popped up, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. I'm just so curious because AI.
Yes.
Anytime I talk about customer service, I've been on the back end of getting really frustrated with AI driven customer service, but I also, as a business owner, see so much benefit in it. Where do you guys utilize AI at all? Like, do you see AI fitting into this, especially looking at like diagnostics and translating information? I don't know. Do you think that plays a role, or how are you navigating that?
Do we see it playing a role? Absolutely. Have we implemented anything transformational that has taken over what we're currently doing? Not yet. Um, what we do really well, though, is, and there are AI components per se to this, our emails to make sure that somebody sends their kit back in, our text messages to make sure somebody sends their kit back in, that make sure somebody understands the process in order to, prep for a good sample. We've contracted with a team that's making outbound phone calls to patients, which has really been beneficial because they're not AI, they're real people and they're really well trained, and then they can answer you know, pretty thoughtful questions up front so that we don't have questions later, right? So AI, I do see a huge opportunity for utilization. We have not implemented anything transformational yet, but we have a lot of systems in place that help the patient go through the process. And for us, it's important if we're sending a kit out, we want that kit back so that we can help the patient, help the physician solve the problem of the person not feeling well.
Yeah, absolutely. Some accountability, but in a good way of like making sure that you took the first step. Let's get the ball rolling so we can get answers, move on to the next steps that are needed.
I don't want to turn the tide here, but how about you within your business? How are you thinking about AI? I think it's transferable across all industries.
It absolutely is. I think as a solopreneur now, I'm one single person as a team, and I work one-to-one with patients, and I also in more of course module world. So I think I see that AI, I think, is going to make information more accessible. It's going to make healthcare more accessible if it's done well. I think it could go multiple directions because it has to be trained, and who's training it. I think that's my biggest concern, especially in these populations, and especially with evolving research. You're on the side of this too. We're in a field that is ever evolving, which makes it really exciting.
No
It
doubt.
also makes it really hard because one thing that we know today might change tomorrow. And also there's a lot we don't know. And working with patients, there's a lot of mystery still. And AI, unfortunately, may not be able to solve it all. But if it's trained well, I do think AI could play a role in getting information to people in an accessible way, helping people
Absolutely.
figure out answers, or even I think navigating the healthcare system. We always say, don't Google your symptoms. I think in the future, there will be a better approach to actually Googling your symptoms. And I don't think
Right.
that's a bad thing personally as a provider, because if it helps kind of bring like, hey, if we can get the data of your entire healthcare history, can
Totally
we come
agree.
up with ideas? I think so. I know a lot of people in the healthcare space, though, are a little scared of it. I'm not scared of it as long as it's trained by the right people, pulling from the right information, and continues to be accessible. I think the minute that we take away the accessibility of it, what's the point?
That's right.
That's what I would care about. But I would be fine if I don't think AI will ever take my job completely. I think we'll always need some human interaction and a one-to-one
There's no doubt.
troubleshooting. But if AI took most of my job and people were better, that's the ultimate goal, right? The ultimate goal is for all of us not to have a job, because people are better and they're doing well and they're okay, and these aren't problems anymore. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but who knows? Yeah, I'm interested in how companies are utilizing it. And I think it's interesting to see it roll out and see how we move forward with it, and then how patients use it and how providers use it. Well, I know you've talked a little bit about some of the things that set you guys apart, and your service and the innovation and what's coming next a little bit and all of that. But as the CEO, what are you the most proud of so far in Gemelli's journey?
Yeah, if you think about it, we didn't exist 7 years ago. There was amazing physicians that did amazing work that created something that was better than what was on the market previously. We took that as a team, a lot of really excellent people that I get to spend time with on a daily basis. Took that as a team, turned it into a product offering, turned it into a company. And now, this year we're doing tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of tests a year, right? That didn't exist before. But it always comes back to the people and the culture and what I think that we've created here at Gemelli. And it's not me. We have, sales leaders, we have ops leaders, we have customer service leaders, we have finance leaders, we have HR leaders, right? It's the collective that took something, I'd say 0 to 1 was a few years ago. Now it's a scaling organization, right? And that comes with its own challenges, but grateful that we are, at this place to have these opportunities to improve.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned a few times how the patient is centered, right? The customer is centered. And I believe that that's how companies succeed, especially in the healthcare space. It's like if we can keep customers and patients centered in it and part of those conversations, and making sure, okay, are they taken care of along the way? Like that's
That's
how
right.
companies do well. And everyone wins, which is the ultimate
And
goal.
we have a great scientific advisory board, people that have conflicting thoughts, right, on lactulose versus glucose, these types of things. We take feedback. Why I'm here right now is I'm meeting with the GI Health Foundation right after this. Hey, how can we partner? How can we help your constituents treat their patients better, whatever, diagnose their patients better? There are a number of gastrointestinal NPs and PAs that I'll spend time with this afternoon. Really just, asking for their feedback on how are we doing? What can we do better? Are there challenges in the workflow that we should know about? You don't know everything. You try, but you need somebody that's like on the ground in front of a patient telling you how to do it better, or at least giving you insights into, what it actually looks like.
Absolutely. And since you are getting all of that information, you talked a little bit about the things that Gemelli has and some forward thoughts from you guys specifically, but whether you're involved in it or not, what do you see in terms of the future of gut health diagnostics?
The patient has been so empowered. I think you can find online that we have a few wellness relationships, distributors per se, but I view them more as partners. Uh, there are other companies that keep approaching us to say, can you sell our test? Can you sell our asset? Can you sell our other thing? And for us right now, we want to do what we do really well. So we're, kind of just sticking to our core competency. But there are a lot of ancillary tests or products that could be really interesting if we stood up something that was a little bit more consumer in nature. We started as a company with sales professionals calling on gastroenterologists, and that is our core business. We have subsequently built a business around it through our telehealth platform that gives patients direct access, uh, relationships with third parties that, that's where either physicians or naturopaths are going to order. So we want to be available where they are. And then there are other transformational relationships that we're, having conversations with right now that I think will be, whoa, 5 years ago, they would have one never heard of us, two, let alone never had a conversation with us, right? Because we didn't have anything to offer them. So these things have become very real. It's great. That's where I think it goes, though. To answer your original question, is the patient is empowered to take control of their own health care, and specifically where you sit. I mean, I think you, as a dietitian, an NP, a PA, that's the epicenter of patient care for me in the future, and maybe even now. And we might be there now.
Absolutely. I agree. I think not just, I think we focused on preventative medicine for so long of like preventative medicine is where it's at. And I think with that, there's kind of been a miss of both where we have some good like treatment medicine, right? That's a little overloaded. We could get into that. That's its own conversation that we're not going to touch. That's a mess, right? But we also
I'll pass. Thank you.
yeah, me too. Preventative medicine also is a bit of a mess, but the wellness industry is kind of built in there. And there's been some forward progress. Social media maybe has helped access to
Right.
information, whatever we want to call it.
Just have to do it right,
The
like
middle is a
yeah,
mess. Yeah,
it's
it's
a
like
mess.
the actual patient care of like the people that aren't at the far end that they need to be treated tomorrow, for cancer or, not minimizing what is better or worse than another thing, but like
Totally.
there's treatments, but then what do we do in the middle where people aren't, their quality of life is low, the problems are kind of complex, there's a lot of pieces to it, and it's been happening over a long period of time for most people. That piece of it has been missing, and I think that's where this fits in. That's where
I
nutrition
could not agree more.
in. Yeah, we've got
There's so much coming at people these days, right? And it's confusing. So we try to be very intentional about who we are, what we do, what we say about what we do, and keep it grounded in the science. Other than that, we need people to know that we exist, so that they know that this is an option. But as a patient, it's terribly confusing with all of the things that are coming at you.
Absolutely. So anyone listening, if you're confused, you're not alone.
So
It
am
is
I.
confusing. We're
Yeah,
all confused.
so
And some
confused.
of it's mystery. I think it's
Yeah,
something I always remind
it's
patients of.
true.
I think watching the microbial overgrowth world, like it's a great example of how science can happen slowly, but also shift how we do things. And then that acceptance of those shifts can take a while too. But there's also just so much unknown still. And there's a lot of potential, but it also means that if you're in the middle of a bit of those complexities, like that is just where we're all at. And so we're doing our best, and there's steps in the right direction. You guys are filling one of those, which is amazing. But it's okay that it doesn't feel perfect yet.
Totally.
It's just
Yeah.
complicated. It's complicated.
That's a bit of what I love about what we get to do is not every and we shared that I grew up sort of in pharma, but not everything that we do has a it's about a pharma therapeutic, right? There are dietary changes, there are lifestyle changes, there are things to avoid, there are things to consider. Not everything is, hey, you have this gas level and now you take this pill. It's complex, but I love that we're in the center of the sort of the knowledge transfer, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. I think you can only do something from knowledge. And so if someone's able to understand, okay, this might be one piece of what's going on, they can put pieces together more. And that's where diagnostics should fit in, is helping solve some of those missing gaps and tie those strings for patients, which is really exciting. So if patients are listening, I know you guys have already, the ad has already been here. So you've seen the ad from us already. But from your perspective, I guess, if someone has a lot of interest in what you guys are doing. They want to learn more, not just to purchase today, like we've shared
Right.
that link, but is there a best place to learn more about the science, about, all the ins and outs, and even stay up to date on what's coming next?
The team's going to kill me because I'm sure I'll butcher this, but between the two websites, there's triosmartbreath.com where you can go learn about the test itself. There's also ibssmart.com where you can go learn about the antibody test for post-infectious IBS. There are opportunities on those sites to sign up for the newsletter from Gemelli. It's called The Bottom Line, which I absolutely think is brilliant. I love it so much. They did such a great job. I get that whenever it's distributed, and I find it really educational. And it's not just like, hey, go buy our test. There's some really thoughtful things in there. I think those were the three areas to really find out more information about us as an organization. We also are pretty present on social media, Instagram, Facebook, tiny TikTok presence. And it's not, a bunch of, hey, buy our stuff. There is some of that, don't get me wrong. but it's really educational. I think the team has done a really nice job at making it approachable and, not feel entirely commercial. So for whatever that's worth, that's where I would go.
Absolutely. And I'll add some of that to the show notes if you let her bark.
There's our friend. I love it.
I know, it's all every time. It's raining. We've got one scared of the rain.
That's funny.
I'll add some of that to the show notes. So if you missed that, you need a link, I'll put it there. And then don't forget, because Gemelli is one of our partners for this season, we do have a little discount code if you do choose to purchase the test and you're purchasing it on your own. So that is all in the show notes as well. But Matt, thank you for joining me. Thank you for sharing all of this. It's so insightful to hear some of what's happening behind the scenes. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Really grateful for the opportunity.
Are you listening to today's episode with the main thought being, what are the steps that I can take to get rid of my symptoms right now? While I hope that the information that we share in every episode of The Gut Show leaves you feeling more empowered and more confident in your body, it's not always going to solve your problem or give you a clear direction for your specific symptoms and your needs. The Master Method membership is an online program for the person with chronic digestive symptoms and IBS who wants step-by-step guidance to understand their body, address the drivers of IBS, reduce symptoms, and build resilience in your gut long-term. This membership includes a step-by-step course and a dietitian-led community that teaches you how to holistically address each symptom and the IBS drivers, how to reduce symptoms more strategically and with confidence, and guidelines for better gut health long-term so that you're not only thinking about today, but you're also improving your outcomes in the future. It is time to ditch the symptoms and get your life back. The membership is your first step. You can learn more and enroll at ibsmastermethod.com and use the code GUTSHOW, GUTSHOW, GUTSHOW for $25 off your enrollment fee.